So today we're going to be ranking every single weapon in Fortnite Chapter 4. And obviously this chapter, the loot pool is slightly different to some of the other chapters. We've got some different weapons, and today we're going to go through each one and rank them from best to worst. So let's get straight into it here, starting off with the Scar. And for me, the Scar, you can never go wrong. It's simple, but it works. And I'm going to have to chuck it straight into S tier. It's a great weapon and definitely one of my favourites. Obviously it's in the game since Season 1. It was removed for a bit, and obviously this season we've got a lot of different rarities for it, and for me, it has to go in the top tier. Next up we got the Burst, and the Burst is good. I definitely do prefer the Scar, but the Burst is still a good weapon, so I'll chuck that into A tier there. And next up we've got the Sniper for this chapter, and compared to some of the other snipers we've had in the past, like the Bolt and the Heavy Snipers, and even the Hunting Rifle, for me this one's probably one of my least favourites. Gonna put that one in C tier there. And now next up, this weapon is kind of crazy. Obviously it looks pretty cool, but in terms of where I'm going to rank it, it's going to have to be B tier. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's definitely not my favourite. In terms of the heavy shotgun, obviously it was in the game early in chapter 1. I do like the shotgun, but if I do have a different shotgun, I'll use the other ones. So for me, in terms of where it goes, I'm going to put it straight into B tier there. And then next up we've got the SMG. Now this one, low-key, it does laser people if you hit your shots, and for me, I think it's actually really good. I'm going to put it into A tier. I think as long as you don't miss all your shots, then this SMG is actually really good. You can laser people, and as far as SMGs go, this one, it's a pretty good one. Now this shotgun goes straight into A tier for me. As I mentioned, I definitely prefer this one to the heavy shotgun. If I had a choice between two, I'll always choose this one, and for me, it's just a good one. Nothing really bad to say about it. Now next up we've got a couple of the bows. Now this one, it's not my favourite one. I'm going to put it into C tier there. I definitely prefer the purple one, which I'm going to put straight into A tier there. I think this one is probably my favourite bow. I think it's a really good one. In terms of the fire bow next up, I think this one, it's not bad. Again, not my favourite. I think I'll just put it in B tier. You know, it's not bad. But in terms of the other bow though, which is the yellow one, I think this one isn't really my favourite at all. I'm going to put it in C. I'm not going to be too harsh on this. I could really put them in F, but it's not terrible. The next up we've got this weapon. Obviously it's got the scope. It's not a bad one, but again, compared to some of the other weapons we've had in the past, not my favourite. It's going to have to go into C tier for me. Now the RPG, obviously this is one of the only explosives we've really got. Obviously grenade launchers aren't really in the game. We haven't got anything like the quad launcher or anything, but the RPG, probably one of my favourites, has to go in S tier for me. A simple weapon, but it's a classic, and it works. Obviously, destroys structures, but if you go high ground above someone, use the RPG, does 100 damage, you know, you can't complain with this. Great weapon. And speaking of great weapons, the hammer. This one, 100% going in S tier, obviously, saves you from fall damage and stuff as well, which is pretty cool. But the hammer, again, as long as you don't miss too much, then you can deal a lot of damage to your opponents. And I think it is quite a unique weapon as well compared to some of the others we've had in the previous chapters. And yeah, definitely a huge fan of the hammer. Now the tactical assault rifle can also deal a lot of damage and laser people, but I'm going to put it into B tier. I think it is a good weapon, but I think again I definitely prefer some of the other ones like the Burst and definitely the Scar. I think from medium range I think this is really good, but other than that, not really the best in my opinion. Now, in terms of the pistol though, this one is actually kind of good. I think the pistol is kind of underrated because sometimes I land up, grab a pistol, that's the only weapon I've got, and you can just laser people with this, and I'm actually going to put it straight into A tier. The pistol is pretty solid this chapter. Now next up again we've got another shotgun, and speaking of solid, this one again, it just works very well, and if you get this, you can't really complain. You know, it's a good shotgun. Going to put it in A tier as well. Now this SMG also, the SMGs are actually pretty good. You know, this chapter you can just laser people with them, they do a lot of damage, and I'm going to also put that one in A tier there, a very good one. And lastly we have got the combat shotgun. Obviously the combat shotgun was added in Season X in chapter 1, and obviously this chapter is a good shotgun. I did really like this shotgun when it first got added to the game, but nowadays I definitely prefer some of the other shotguns. I feel like this one, the combat, is very good long range and medium range, but close range for me, I'm not a huge fan of this shotgun. But I still put it into B tier though, not a terrible one. But that's my tier list there. Obviously we've got a lot of good weapons like the hammer, obviously the Scar as well, we've got the bows, we've got a few good shotguns, SMGs, you know, a decent loot pool this chapter. But for me, I think I've got to go with the Shockwave Hammer in terms of my favorite. I think it's a very unique weapon, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree that if you've got a Shockwave Hammer in your loadout, then it's going to be a good match. But make sure to comment down below which one is your favorite. And if you did enjoy the video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more. And there's a lot more videos on screen here. Make sure to click another one to keep on watching, and I'll see you over there.